drivers. Al Unser Jr. has been close before, finishing 1 point behind his father in 1985 in the PPG IndyCar World Series. His season has been touched with greatness. 6 times he's taken the checkered flag, including his first 500-mile win, and a kart record 4 wins in a row. He is the current points leader. Michael Andretti has seen greatness up close, growing up with his father Mario. His year is also a memorable one, 5 wins, including the last 2 races. In another season, the crown would be his. This year, he is second in the points. And their battle is not the only one being fought on this tight mile oval. Bobby Rahal sits on the pole. He has been the bridesmaid 5 times this year and still searches for his first victory. Rick Mears won the season opener in Phoenix. He won the Marlboro Challenge yesterday, and he has something to prove. But so do Andretti and Unser as the IndyCars attack the bull ring that is Pennsylvania International Raceway. ESPN, the world's leader in motorsports television, presents Speed World. In the Lehigh Valley of eastern Pennsylvania, it's the kart Bosch Spark Plug Grand Prix. Hello and welcome. I'm Paul Page, and the championship battle is on the line again here today. The combatants, the points leader, Al Unser Jr. and Michael Andretti. Now, when you consider their career over this season, it's very much like their entire lifetime. They started racing together. They're sons of great IndyCar champions, and they're come up through the ranks pretty much the same way. Well, now they face one another, the championship on the line. The objective for Al Unser Jr., a 7th or better today, could wrap up his championship. For Michael Andretti, it's a must-win situation, not only here, but at the final race of the season at Laguna Seca, California. But as with most IndyCar racing, there's more than a championship fight on the line. There's the race itself. Let's get an update on that from Gary Jarrett.
A couple of guys that start this race in the front row that very much would like to take the spotlight away from Andretti and Unser. Bobby Rahal with a new track record on the pole. 5 times a second-place finisher this year, looking for his first win. Rick Mears saw his old record broken. He's right alongside. He won $250,000 on this track yesterday, and of course, won on the mile at Phoenix to start the season. Bobby, this track very demanding because of the speed, because of all of the traffic. You're constantly turning. What's the key to winning in your mind?
Well, I think the key is, aside from the usual, like good pit stops, is getting through traffic. You know, that's the key here. If you can get through it, it's going to be a fun race. If your car isn't handling good enough to go wherever you need to go, it's going to be a long one.
Rick, you won the big money yesterday. Is there anything you can take from that victory yesterday that'll help you try to double up today?
Well, hopefully, the car will be pretty close to what the one was yesterday. And last time when we were driving both of them, they were fairly close. And like Bobby said, the real key is going to be traffic. You know, the car seemed to work fairly good in traffic yesterday, but still, there's going to be a lot more traffic today and a lot longer day.
2 very fast front runners to set the pace. Let's drop back now and check on that championship battle as we check in with our colleague, Lynn St. James.
And we're with the key player right now, and that's Al Unser Jr. Al, there's a couple of different strategies for this race. There's the strategy to go out and win the race that we know you can do so well and would like to have. And then there's a strategy of just finishing the race to win the championship. What is your strategy today?
Well, really, the first thing we need to do is finish. And then the second thing we need to do is win the race. And so the thing to do is just go out and stay out of trouble, keep our nose clean, and do as well as we can.
How are you handling the tension and the pressure?
That's pretty easy. You know, the race itself puts on a bunch of pressure, and so we take them one at a time, and that's what's gotten us to this point. So we're not going to change anything. We're just going to take them one at a time.
Thanks. Back to you, Paul.
All right, so the championship on the line, Derek Daly, these 2 men. How do you rate them coming into this event?
Well, let me give you 2 different scenarios for Michael and Al Jr. Al Jr., very much the star of the mid-season races. But since then, he's been on the defensive, has to protect that precious points lead. That can be frustrating for a driver. Take Michael. No holds barred. He has nothing to lose. He can go for it. But also remember, he lives just down the road here. He slept in his own bed last night. He had breakfast in his own kitchen. I think that's a psychological advantage that he's going to take into this race with him.
So plenty of stories to keep in mind today as they run at Nazareth. 22 cars are ready to take the most famous command in sports.
On behalf of 175,000 Bosch employees worldwide, gentlemen, start your engines.
Well, the command is given, and we are just about ready to go off this one.
tri-oval here at Nazareth. The laps roll off so very quickly. Rick Mears, a final wish of good luck. There's Al Unser Jr. Can the championship be his today? Here's the starting grid, brought to you by the Die-Hard battery, now with more power when you need it most. On the pole is Bobby Rahal, who set a new track record and earned his first pole in over 3 years. Outside row 1 is Rick Mears, who won yesterday's Marlboro Challenge. The second row on the inside is Emerson Fittipaldi, the defending champion at this race, and Danny Sullivan, who won here in 1988 at a record pace. The third row to the inside, Al Unser Jr., looking to wrap up the 1990 PPG IndyCar World Series title, and Ari Luyendyk, the Indianapolis 500 champion. The fourth row to the inside, Mario Andretti. He won on the old dirt track here in Nazareth in 1969. And his son Michael, going for his third win in a row this afternoon. The fifth row to the inside, Roberto Guerrero, the best start ever for the Alfa Romeo powered car. And John Andretti, he has a pair of fifth place efforts this season. The sixth row to the inside is Mike Groff, a rookie making his best start ever in an IndyCar race. And Eddie Cheever, who has already wrapped up Rookie of the Year honors. The seventh row, Dale Bobby, hoping for a strong run in what has been a most disappointing year. And Raul Boisel, who finished fifth here back in 1988. The eighth row on the inside is Scott Brayton. He has 6 top 10 finishes this year. And Scott Goodyear, the Canadian youngster, has finished 10th in every oval race this year. The ninth row, Michael Greenfield, a freshman driver, his first start on an oval. And Randy Lewis, a veteran, making his first start at Nazareth. And taking a look at the rest of the field, Guido Dacco, Hiro Matsushita, Tony Bettenhausen, and Buddy Lazier. But Teo Fabi has pulled his car out of the line, gone to his backup, and will start in the back of the field. We'll be back for the start. National Raceway, just outside Nazareth in eastern Pennsylvania. This is the 15th round of the PPG IndyCar World Series. The kart, Bosch, Spark Plug Grand Prix. And today it's being brought to you live on ESPN by Quaker State. The Big Q is One Tough Motor Oil. By Robert Bosch Corporation, makers of the Bosch Platinum, the ultimate spark plug. And by Nissan, built for the human race. On board with Bobby Rahal, the pole sitter, as the field is out and moving. Let's go to the pits and Gary Gerald.
Oh, we've talked about the pressure on the drivers in the championship chase. There's pressure, of course, on these crews, and you can feel it here in the Michael Andretti pit. This is a crew that's trying to bounce back from adversity yesterday. A malfunction on a fueling nozzle cost them 30 seconds in the pits and any chance of victory in the Marlboro Challenge. Keep in mind also, the last time the drivers were on a mile oval at Milwaukee, the team failed in its efforts to get fuel management, and Michael ran out with 2 laps to go while leading the race. Unser won. Pivotal point in the championship season. This team feels the pressure. They know there can be no mistakes like that today if they've got to keep those championship hopes alive. Let's go to the Unser pit now and Lynn.
That's right, Gary. You know that the morale and the confidence level of a crew is so critical to the overall performance. Al Unser's crew is really not as tense as I would expect. I mean, the pressure's on, but I think their morale and their confidence level is very high. They've had to overcome adversity, the fire at Cleveland, which turned out to be an error on an individual crew member's part, but they were still able to spring right back and bounce from that. So this crew is definitely ready for this race and ready not to make a mistake and to be in their championship form. Back to you, Paul.
Considering the points that are available, 20 points for the win, an additional point for leading the most laps in a race, and that could make a world of difference. Now, the point standings right now, coming into this second-to-last race of the season, Al Unser Jr. ahead with 194, and Michael Andretti at 157. So it will be a very close battle in the points, but focus too certainly on that front row, Mears and Rahal. Rahal so very hungry for a win this year. Rick Mears just off of yesterday's win. You saw it here on ESPN in the Marlboro Challenge. On board with Michael Andretti as we take a look down through the onboard cameras in this field. And we'll certainly be watching this man. You can see what lies ahead for him as he has a great deal cut out. And all the way in the back of the field, on board the Porsche of Teo Fabi. So the field now begins to pick up the pace as the pole sitter Bobby Rahal brings the Trico SPT machine to the green flag, and they are running at Nazareth as Rahal moves quickly into the lead from the back of the pack with Teo Fabi. He moved to the backup car because of problems he suffered with the car yesterday in the Marlboro Challenge and decided this was the better machine. And you're riding with him as he cuts his way up through the field. At the front of the run, it's Rahal, followed by Mears.
We saw Fabi make one position on the outside of turn 2. Rahal still leads, but now Fabi follows Randy Lewis.
So at the front of the field, there goes Rick Mears, passing second place, and Tony Bettenhausen against the wall. Car up against the wall.
The first lap of races are critical because you've got to be so careful that the engine and the tires are warmed up. That's the problem with such high-speed corners on these first couple of laps. So Bettenhausen may have got in trouble. Here's a replay. We see Tony B is coming off of turn 3. There he is. He loses it on the way in. On the way into the corner, he's lost control. It's a long slide, almost keeps out of the wall, and then bang, makes contact right there.
Looked like Guido Dacco also had to pitch it sideways to avoid Bettenhausen as they came around. And that gives you an idea of what can be so terribly costly here at Nazareth. There's a whole string of rather unusual incidents that include an accident last year that we'll talk about a little bit later. But as they line up under the caution flag, it's Bobby Rahal leading Rick Mears, and then Fittipaldi, teammate Danny Sullivan, Al Unser Jr., and Michael Andretti occupy 5th and 6th. We'll be right back. Trying to get Tony Bettenhausen's car on the hook. Let's take a look at that accident one more time, Derek Daly.
This is the end of the back stretch, which is the fastest part of the racetrack, and Tony B, when he turns in, and look at Guido Dacco, he got away with it. Maybe those two cars touched. I think they did, but Bettenhausen almost straightens the car right there. Not quite enough, out of road. He's out in the gray area. That's the marbles, that's the slippery area, and he makes light contact with the wall. But Tony Bettenhausen, the Amex Cole car, remember he's one of the teams who will have a Chevrolet next year, but Tony B's day, a very short one here.
Hiro Matsushita and Buddy Lazier both had to scramble for clear track to get past as well, so we're under caution at Nazareth. Last time that Tony Bettenhausen had an accident on the opening lap was in the 1988 Indianapolis 500. So they're on board with Michael Andretti. Many eyes here in his hometown keeping an eye on Michael. Now, while Pennsylvania International Raceway may in fact look like other mile ovals, there is a very subtle difference that these crews must affect in the car setup. This track fact is brought to you by Quaker State. The Big Q is one tough motor oil. Now, here's Gary Gerald.
We've talked frequently in the past about how the most minute changes dramatically affect the handling characteristics of a race car. And here at Nazareth, one of the areas where the engineers are very concerned deals with ride height. Ride height, quite simply, is the distance between the surface of the racetrack and the bottom part of the tub or the chassis. There are two types of ride height that they talk about. Static ride height, when the car is just setting here, and dynamic ride height, when it's at full speed. Here at Nazareth, about 175 miles per hour. And all the aerodynamic and cornering load forces actually push the car down tight to the racetrack. The static ride height for most of these cars here is about 3/4 to 1 1/4 inches. And yet at speed, the dynamic ride height is down to less than 1/10 of an inch. Now on the other mile tracks where these cars compete, Milwaukee and Phoenix, the dynamic ride height is about 3/10 of an inch. So there's a dramatic difference. And you say, yeah, 2/10 is only that much. Yet that 2/10 of an inch will generate another 200 pounds or more of downforce for these cars at Nazareth. That's as if to say you take 4 of these 50-pound bags, put one in each corner of the car, and you've got 200 more pounds of downforce. Another instance where the smallest change has a dramatic impact on the car.
These cars are so sensitive. When they lower and raise that front ride height, what it does, it moves the center of pressure of the downforce forward or backwards on the car. So you can actually change the handling characteristics of the cars by raising or lowering the front or the rear ride height. Now, thousandths of an inch is what we're talking about here. These cars are so sensitive. And at a track like we have here at Nazareth, where it's so smooth, that's why, as Gary tells you, they run them so close to the ground. The lower they run the cars, generally, the more downforce these cars create.
Thousandths of an inch can make differences in miles per hour. That makes a difference in distance at the end of the season, and that can make a difference actually in hundreds of thousands of dollars, and certainly points for these IndyCar drivers. Bobby Rahal is in front. Michael Andretti went from 8th to 6th in that first lap of green, and of course his objective is he must get to the front of the field just as fast as he can because he wants to pick up the single bite for the single point for the leading the most laps here at this race. Now, Bobby Rahal at the front of the field. There you have a good view of him behind the PPG pace car driven by Johnny Rutherford. We asked Rahal, you're on the pole for today's race. Do you have that race car set exactly where you want it to be?
Right now, the car feels very good. I think there's room for some improvement still. But starting where I'm starting in the Marlboro Challenge, which is, I think, the 4th row, that may not sound like it's too far back, but on this circuit, which is so difficult to pass, the 4th row might as well be the 8th row. So.
An important pole for Bobby Rahal in starting this race, his first pole in 39 months, long time. As he picks the pace up now, the yellow still flashing on the pole, but the green in the hands of Nick Finoro, the starter, and they're back and running at Nazareth, a very tight mile and a whirlwind. Boy, look at this group come into the corner. Al Unser Jr. and Andretti running together on the track now. This is the battle for the championship, and of course, strong in Michael's mind is to try to get up and get to the front of this field, so he definitely has to get past his adversary directly in front of him.
Look at Michael go around the outside of Al Jr., trying to make it around the outside. Very, very brave move, but he didn't make it.
This is where you talk about the psychological advantage. On one hand, Derek Daly, little Al must be careful, and on the other hand, Michael has no choice but to be brave.
Michael has to be brave. He has to take the extra chance because he must win this race. But Al Jr. knows that, and he also knows that he must finish. So Al Jr. cannot really be very brave trying to keep Michael back here.
Consider the variety in lines as now Al Unser Jr. overhauls Danny Sullivan for 4th place and puts Sullivan between him and Michael Andretti. Mario Andretti is lined up just behind Michael.
That's the type of thing he needs. There's such different strategies can be played here. Now look at Michael. Watch Al Jr. get away. He has to get by Sullivan, come down the inside, but Sullivan chops down and takes the line. And look what happens. Michael loses about 6 or 7 car lengths.
Michael went very close to the curb there. In fact, you saw his hands jump for a second. I'm sure he caught it with the left front and fought to maintain control as they come to the backside once again.
This is turn 2. They're exiting right here. This is 150 miles an hour turn 2. Look at Lyondike. Shows his nose down the inside of Mario. Doesn't make it.
Ari Lyondike with a spectacular run here today at 7th position right now. Yesterday, at the end of the Marlboro Challenge that you saw here on ESPN, Lyondike was actually running laps at the end of the race faster than the leader, Rick Mears. So Lyondike, the Indy 500 champion, most definitely a man to watch here at Nazareth as he closes in on Mario Andretti in the number 30 Domino's car.
Mario chases Michael. These cars are very similarly set, hence you see them running very close together here. Now Al Jr. has pulled away, but Michael can watch everything that's going on. Here's back to turn 2, 150 miles an hour. These corners are so long and fast, that's what makes overtaking quite difficult here. This is the best place to overtake. This is a downhill run to turn 3, and people try to get down the inside, which is the safest pass to try and make.
We continue to watch the fight. The Andretti family, father and son, and then Ari Lyondike. It is a battle for 6th place at the front of the field. It is still Rahal. He is not contested at the moment by Rick Mears, but he will be moving up very shortly, as certainly Mears also would like to catch Rahal, and Rahal just dying to break that streak of 2nd place finishes, 5 this season. Front of the field, it is Bobby Rahal who rides a 21 race losing streak. As Mario Andretti closes on his son Michael, who runs in 6th place right now. Behind them is Ari Lyondike at the front of the order, and it's still Bobby Rahal, Rick Mears, Emerson Fittipaldi, and Al Unser Jr., followed by Danny Sullivan. Now, Derek, as we watch this, and we talk so often, there's the front of the field. That's Bobby Rahal, and Mears just behind him. You can see they're already overhauling traffic. Gives you an idea how fast and furious this course is, and boy, look at the group that they now have to deal with just ahead of them.
Now look what happens. Rahal got into the traffic and backed off just a little bit. Look at the turbulence of Rahal's helmet. See the way it gets knocked around side to side. But we saw Rahal back off ever so slightly, and Mears closed about 4 car lengths instantly. So traffic, as Rahal said earlier on, could be a major factor in the race.
That's Posel in the True Sports entry just ahead. He's running in 14th place. Now Rahal closes in, picks up the pace, tries to get in. You can see Fittipaldi is trying Rick Mears at the same time. First, second, and third running right together as they try to overhaul Posel.
Of course, the lead driver hopes the driver ahead moves over, lets him through, and the driver who's second, like Mears in this situation, hopes that Rahal gets held up, and he takes advantage. But this is what makes Nazareth so exciting. So many cars at high speed running together all the time.
Everybody moves out trying to find position as Rahal ducks under Scott Goodyear and creates a bit of a separation back to second place Rick Mears. Goodyear wisely stays high. Looking backwards from Bobby Rahal now, the leader of the race. Mike Roth just behind him. Mike's brother, Robbie, won the ARS race here today, and Mike is making a spectacular start in the Indy cars here. Clear sailing ahead for Rahal. For the moment, he has a nice, clear track. There's Debbie Rahal as she watches from the pit. Helps keep track of this run, hoping for a win.
You often wonder, how do all the drivers know where the fast drivers are going to be and where they try and overtake? In a situation like this, on a fast oval, the drivers' meeting, which is held every morning before the race, they will decide, we want slower cars to stay high, stay out of the groove, stay away, and let the faster cars, the leaders, pass on the inside. And that's what we see here. See the way Buddy Lazier moved high, and Rahal just shot down right underneath him.
Of course, the real problem isn't so much for the first fellow in the serial, it's for the second one to make sure that whoever they just passed is not only aware of the pass that was just performed, but the one that is about to take place. So the second guy coming through that could be the problem.
Well, that's exactly right. And of course, when you let that first guy by, you've got to be so careful that Mears isn't absolutely making it a double train. Here's exactly the same situation again. Lazier moves high and Mears moves low.
But just that little bit of time in trying to overhaul Lazier has been costly for Rick Mears as he continues his pursuit of Bobby Rahal, now running about 3 seconds back. And he dropped back just in those few seconds that he spent behind Buddy Lazier.
It's very difficult to speculate how these cars are set up, but yesterday during the Marlboro Challenge, now we look back to the Andretti's. Here they are still locked in this battle. Now whenever the Andretti's make a move, everybody in the grandstands here stands up because these are the hometown favorites. These are the only people that are important to the local fans here on the racetrack.
We would have expected Michael to try and charge for the front faster than he actually has. Perhaps we can get an update from Gary Gerald.
Paul, initial reports from the crews for both Michael and Mario Andretti indicate that both cars are very, very loose. They backed off a bit behind in the chase of Sullivan. The turbulence, loose, was a problem for everybody yesterday. They supposedly compensated on their setups today, but it's a problem for them here in the very early going.
Now the question would be, though, have they compromised the handling for longevity in the run? Will they handle better as they go? As we take a look at Mario trying, Michael and Leyendijk tries as well.
I think Michael is slowing Mario just a little bit, but what do you do? I mean, do you pass your son and try and put him back down a position into trouble when you know he's chasing the championship? But Mario has been able to close up on Michael, and it looks to me as if he's anxious to get by. But what do you do when it's your son that's out there?
31 miles are complete in this 200-mile run. Of course, the other point is that not only are we teammates, it's a family, and they're right here in the hometown. So a difficult situation for both of the Andretti's at the moment. But could Mario help Michael by staying back behind him and help push him through some of the traffic?
Well, I don't know, but the problem Mario has now is Arie Leyendijk is absolutely all over him. So not only does he have to try and protect Michael, he's got to protect his own position. But look at Mario down the inside. Will he make it? Will he make it?
And look just behind them as Michael makes the try to the outside, tries to hang on the upper edge of the course, but Leyendijk ducks down to the inside of Michael Andretti, and there's the nose of Leyendijk coming by. So Leyendijk comes up a position as he's on the fly. And don't ignore in this fight the fact that Roberto Guerrero is just behind in his best start this year, and he's in this fight as well.
Look at Danny Sullivan side by side with Mario here, but look at Leyendijk. Sullivan looks as if he's losing positions, but there's Roberto Guerrero having one of the best runs he's had.
And Guerrero comes up to challenge with Michael Andretti now. Now, if this looks like a whirlwind to you, let me tell you, it's exactly the same to the drivers. They're around this track so very quickly. Very difficult to keep track of all of the traffic, and the drivers dart and move and just try to find the only clean air that they can. Indications are that they may in fact be calling Michael Andretti in any time now. It would be very premature. 35 miles are gone at this moment.
There's Buddy Lazier, waves the people down to the inside again. He's going to have a lot of that this weekend because he's quite a bit off the pace.
And Michael Andretti rolls into the pits. Here's Gary Gerald.
And Michael Andretti in very early. It now becomes a three-stop race, but the car was so loose they had to bring it in, and now they make the wing change up on front. 1, 2, 3, 4 turns. A dramatic wing change up front. He's moving in 12.5 seconds.
Michael Andretti has been struggling with his car this entire weekend. Yesterday you saw the problems with it. They had fuel pressure problems. Overnight they changed the engine of this car. So when they took the command to start engines and rolled out was the first time that Michael had an opportunity to roll out with this engine. He's a bit frustrated with his run here, but he can certainly make up for that.
What they did during the pit stop, Gary mentioned the wing adjustment. They took downforce out of that front wing. They screwed it down, taking downforce and grip away from the front. Hopefully Michael can have a better balance and make up some of that critical 12 seconds on the racetrack.
Michael Andretti dropped back to 13th place while he was in the pits. There's the leader of the race, Bobby Rahal. Rick Mears up and challenging once again. And just behind is Fittipaldi. Fittipaldi had Rick by a nose at the line, but then Rick was able to push him back. Now Rahal in the STP Craco car is out and around. And now coming up behind Scott Goodyear is traffic very definitely a factor here in the Pennsylvania 42 miles complete. Bobby Rahal has led from the green flag. We've had one caution period. Rick Mears continues to challenge Rahal from second place. Emerson Fittipaldi, Rick's teammate, is in third. Then Al Unser Jr. If he stays there, he can wrap up the championship. Mario Andretti runs in fifth place.
We're inside Bobby Rahal's car. He is the leader. Look at those hands working on that corner. This is the downhill section, the fastest part. 180 miles an hour. He does touch the brakes here. This is turn 3. This is the slowest part of the circuit. 130 miles an hour. Now under the starter stand. This is a flat-out kink. Listen to the engine. No change in note. This is turn 2. Back down ever so slightly. That's all. But this is a 150 mile an hour turn.
Right with the leader, Bobby Rahal. He hasn't won on a 1 mile oval since his Phoenix win in October of 1984. He runs in front here today. It's very powerful. Of course, that Gallus Craco operation is very strong here with teammate Al Unser Jr. running in fourth place, and if he stays there, he will have the championship lapped up. Now there is Rick Mears. Back to Rahal once again. Mears is second. Fittipaldi is third. And they are now running very closely together with Fittipaldi beginning to contest Rick Mears.
Emerson looks in very, very good shape here because whenever the other two pull away when they get into traffic, Emerson seems to have the ability to pull right back up behind Rick Mears. Now, he knows what happened in the Marlboro Challenge yesterday, that Rick came on very strong as the fuel load lightened. Maybe that's what he's hoping for today, and the lull has actually got worse the longer the race went.
We watch the fight for the lead, and Emerson Fittipaldi runs in third place. Let's get an update from Gary Gerald.
Paul, interesting, in typical Penske precision, the Fittipaldi team, including Emerson, was out at 6 o'clock this morning at a Mack Truck Center in nearby Allentown, Pennsylvania. They made an engine change because this is the car they ran in the Marlboro Challenge yesterday. So they made the change last night, had him out at daylight this morning. He was running laps somewhere around 80 miles an hour on about a half-mile oval, we understand, that has slope to it and hills. But they checked it out. They liked it. Emerson obviously doing well in the early stages after an early morning test session.
So typical of the Penske organization, as now Fittipaldi climbs all over the back of second place, his teammate Rick Mears. In fact, I was wondering why, look at Rick as he tries inside a Rahal. I was wondering why Michael Andretti, when they did the engine change, didn't try the same idea of taking the car away to test it. Fittipaldi tries getting inside Rick once again. It doesn't work.
I would have to say Emerson looks like the strongest car out there right now. He's able to pull up behind Rick, duck out right or left, whatever it takes. He's not going to make any dangerous moves or make any daring moves. Look at Rick come down the inside of Rahal.
Rick Mears comes inside Bobby Rahal as they come past the pit entrance, and Rick Mears picks up the lead as he tries to hold on to it. Here comes Fittipaldi past. Fittipaldi tries Rahal as well. He can't get the job done, though. Rick Mears picks up the lead. The winner in yesterday's World Challenge is out in front now.
This is what happened yesterday. Rick just waits and waits and waits and stalks his prey and then pounces. Look at Fittipaldi. The same move down the inside of Rahal.
And Fittipaldi moves into second place now. So Rahal, in just the space of 2 miles, drops back 2 positions. On board with Rahal as he looks ahead to Fittipaldi now and tries to close up.
This is turn 2. This is where the Penskes excelled during yesterday's Marlboro Challenge. That's where the Lolas had the problem. And look how Fittipaldi pulled about 3 car lengths exiting turn 2. Again, turn 2 might be the friend of the Penske today.
Traffic the factor as Fittipaldi and Mears battle just ahead, and they try to weave their way in and out. That's Danny Sullivan just in front of Rahal.
And Fittipaldi, in fact, took advantage of the traffic and has gone past Rick Mears.
You saw the two of them look just like the pace lap, so Emerson Fittipaldi out in front now. as he works his way under Teoffabi, who started last and, by the way, is up running in 12th place now. So Teoffabi's Porsche with a good run. Lyondike continues his pursuit as he comes to the inside.
Just look at this traffic. You think you got the lead, you can relax a little bit, you're in more trouble than ever. There is so much traffic out there. Now Emerson becomes the leader. He has to be the trailblazer and find the right way through all this traffic, while Rick stands and watches, and Rahal watches him.
And Fittipaldi puts Michael Andretti one lap down as he maneuvers around. So Michael comes off the lead lap. And that is going to badly damage Michael's chances for a championship.
You see these cars get lapped quite quickly here. This is because the track is so short, so they're only actually losing 1 mile, although they are getting lapped.
Danny Sullivan comes in for a stop. Here's Gary.
Oh, they are experiencing a vibration, we're told, under braking, and so they're changing all 4 tires, of course, loading up with fuel as well. We're looking to see if there's any change at the front. There is not. We're just hoping that the change of tires will take care of that vibration that Sullivan's been experiencing. He's back on course.
On board, Al Unser Jr., who now runs 5th place. Mario Andretti was able to force his way around Little Al. But if he stays right here, of course, we're talking championship, the very first one for Al Unser Jr. But still, it is a very long race. 57 miles are now complete of the 200-mile distance. And Little Al must tiptoe every inch of the way because it would only take a small mistake. And Al Unser Jr. would be out of the run and out of the championship, and it would go on for one. Double-eight machine just ahead is Emerson Fittipaldi, who has just come around Little Al to put him a lap down as well. Fittipaldi being chased by Mears and Bobby Rahal.
This is a great in-car camera shot from Al Unser Jr. Now, usually he's one of the drivers that wears the strap under his left shoulder to the left side of his helmet. But today, he's using a pad. Now, yesterday during the Marlboro Challenge, his neck did get very sore, so he went to the pad. But I just want to show you what happens. See the way his neck is off the pad right here down the straight? Watch what happens when he gets to the high-speed corners. Look the way his head slowly moves over and leans on that pad. And in the high-speed corners, you see it even more. There it is from in-car. It's on his right shoulder. When he gets to the high-speed corners, it moves slowly and leans on that pad. In fact, Al Jr. has the strap and the pad, which is good to save the old neck muscles.
While we keep an eye on Al Unser Jr., Teoffabi roared into the pits after that spectacular run up to 12th position from 22nd. Al Unser Jr. is on the pit road now, and his crew is ready for him as we go down to Lynn St. James.
Al brings the car right onto the stop. They're going to do a full change here of 4 tires, a full load of fuel. Now, they're also going to make a small front wing change. Al wanted to make a small change, and they're also going to change the tire pressures to change the stagger on the car. 12.7, a championship crew, championship stop.
And that crew was so mad at me yesterday. Al fell behind the race by 2 laps. I think I pushed the wrong button on a stopwatch and came up with a 20-second stop. Owen Snyder and the crew, I had to kneel in front of the car this morning and apologize. The leader of the race, Emerson Fittipaldi.
We heard earlier on Michael was complaining of being loose and he changed his car. Well, Al Jr. must also be loose because they also turned down the front wing on his car. So a loose condition is what a lot of the Lolas seem to be fighting here this afternoon. I don't know what the Penskes are like, but they look incredibly strong right now. Here's Fittipaldi, puts another lap on Michael Greenfield.
Loose or oversteer, meaning the back end tends to try to come out to the right when you make that left-hand turn.
Which is absolutely the worst condition you can have on an oval. When you have push, at least you can control it. But if the back end wants to step out, when you're doing 170 miles an hour about 3 inches from a wall, it's a very disconcerting situation and a very confident sapping situation for the driver.
67 miles complete. Roberto Guerrero comes in for routine service, as does Michael Greenfield. The leader is still Fittipaldi. Now remember, the race started with Bobby Rahal out in front, then Rick Mears got past Rahal, then Fittipaldi passed Mears, and he is now in the position at the front of the field. This is the track at which last year Fittipaldi wrapped up his championship, then locked in a battle with Rick Mears. The Penske organization, on a less than grand stop toward the end of the race, left the vent hose still attached to the car as Rick roared away. And that really wrapped it up for Fittipaldi, who celebrated his IndyCar crown at this very track 1 year ago.
Emerson, as we watch him here, is by far the fastest car on the racetrack. Now, you wonder when he's got such a big lead, why does he keep pushing so hard? The reason is, what he would like to do is build up sufficient cushion so as when he does make that pit stop, his crew can have a lot more time if they need it. But the second place man will be still at a disadvantage, and Emerson may not even lose the lead by the way he's going.
Let's go to Mario Andretti's pits, Gary Gerald.
And they fall on the car, and we're watching at the back because they were talking about the possibility of a wicker bill change in the rear wing. That has not happened that we've seen. They've made the tire change. He comes off the jack and lights up the tires in 13.5 seconds. Mario back out.
Mario Andretti came in fourth place. They were working at the back of the wing, may have changed part of the attack angle as Mario Andretti comes back into traffic.
We saw him pass Michael earlier on. We know Michael was loose. Mario made no adjustment to that front wing, so he's a lot happier with the handling of his car, although he is running down now. I'm not sure where he is after the pit stop, but he was running
at fourth going in, and is dropped down. We're keeping an eye on Fittipaldi, who is closing on Rick Mears, and then they decide to come into the pits, as does Bobby Rahal. That's Fittipaldi rolling in just ahead. Here's Lynn St. James.
Bobby Rahal has just made his first pit stop. He gets a drink mix combination that his crew prepares for him. It is hot today, and they want to make sure they get all that precious fuel in. There's been no chassis change on the car. Screams back out. Okay,
Rahal.
Gary.
And a 14-second stop for Emerson Fittipaldi, who beats Rahal out, and he is gone with what appeared to be routine service. The defending champion, a man who finished second in the Marlboro Challenge here yesterday, Paul.
So Fittipaldi wins the battle. The Penske organization gets him in and out just a bit faster than Rahal, though I really think it was pretty much even. They came in together and went out pretty much in the same condition.
How many times have we seen just how important those people over the wall are in servicing these cars? Rahal hoped he was going to be able to outfox Fittipaldi, but the Penske crew answered every call, and Emerson still stays in the lead. But how close it can be during pit stops.
On board with Al Unser Jr. now. He runs back in sixth place.
Watch this in-car again. Look at his head lean right over onto the cushion there.
Let's go to Gary Gerald as Rick Mears stops.
And Rick Mears, the last of the Penske cars in for first service. Everything looking good here. Don't see any changes front or back wings. Taking a look now as Richard Buck in the right front holds his driver. The fueling is now complete. Mears is away. This is a terrific stop on our clock at just over 11 seconds.
Penske service. It's tough to beat as Mears back into the fight, but Emerson Fittipaldi picked up the lead of the run as Mears made his stop. Arie Luyendyk is now up in third place. So at the front of the field, well, we're seeing the masters of the ovals once again. Fittipaldi has certainly become one. Mears with car number one, the leader of the race. Just ahead of him is third place Rick Mears. Arie Luyendyk runs in second place, and Fittipaldi is just about to put Mears one lap down.
Emerson is in very good, strong shape right now. He has actually caught Rick come right up behind him and has actually made one attempt to pass him, and he has lost Bobby Rahal. Rahal is now about 4 or 5 seconds back. So Fittipaldi, this set of tires definitely suits his car like the last set did, but he's in good shape.
Emerson Fittipaldi, when he's flying, he is superlative. His background, of course, in Formula One and road racing, but we ask him on a track like a 1-mile oval, does he enjoy racing on it?
I enjoy the challenge. I enjoy a lot driving here, but you have to be very alert in traffic. I mean, the history proves here that many crashes on race days to the traffic situation. Sometimes even the slow driver, the slow car doesn't want to be on the way, but he's going to be on the way anyway.
Average speed of the race now for Emerson Fittipaldi, the leader, 137.5 miles an hour. That's behind Danny Sullivan's race record of 148.5, set back in 1988. But Fittipaldi is definitely on the fly, and of course we had the one caution period early on when Tony Bettenhausen brushed the wall, taking his car out of contention, but no injury to Tony Bettenhausen. Arie Luyendyk now just runs down onto the pit road, carrying his car a great distance before he comes in for a stop. Let's go to Lynn St. James.
Arie Luyendyk is going to be bringing his car in. I've talked to John Dick, the team manager and engineer. Arie's going to make no changes on the car, no expected changes. Brings it in. Everyone is ready. A little bit late in getting the fuel nozzle in. warm, but Gary's also taking some liquid because it is a little hotter today than it's been most of this week. The drivers are ready for that heat. 4 tires on. 16.5 seconds, and that seems to be a little bit longer, but I'm sure he got all that fuel in.
And that makes you wonder about the tactics of the race for this team. Arie Luyendyk is getting superlative mileage. They carried the car to 86 laps of the race. That may really pay off as they come to the end.
We saw him leave the pits with his visor still up. You wonder why he goes so far down the line before he puts that visor down, because he was doing almost 100 miles an hour before he put it down. Remember, he's got to go through all those gear changes as he's exiting the pits. As soon as he gets a high enough gear, then he flips it down.
Back watching at the front of the field, Emerson Fittipaldi works his way under Mario Andretti, very close together. Wow.
Whoa, Scott Brayton, I don't think he saw Mario down inside him, actually made the turn down, and almost too late. They touched wheels. They didn't quite make it, and Brayton moved away, but a very, very close call for Mario.
Mario currently running in 5th place, and this race is in every kart race that Goodyear sponsors on ESPN. Goodyear will be sending a check for $1,000 to Cara, the Championship Auto Racing Auxiliary. And look at the battle between Rahal and Rick Mears as Rahal comes around Mears and picks up 2nd place.
Rahal was way to the outside of the high line, which can be the faster line. Rick was way down low and had to pinch the corner, come out of the power. We saw Rahal chop down and boom, immediately pull about 6 car lengths.
Derek, you've got plenty of miles on this course. When you're driving at the front of the race, how far ahead do you actually have to look to anticipate the moves of the other cars?
Well, the biggest problem here, you have to look ahead and you have to look behind, because you think you have everything handled and suddenly somebody sneaks outside you or inside you.
Update Rick Mears. Here's Gary Gerald.
Well, Paul, it's a familiar problem for these teams that we talk about in this demanding track. Once you're in traffic, the handling characteristics are totally different, and that seems to be what's bothering Rick Mears. He was bottled up in all those cars. Richard Buck told us we're fast on an open track. In fact, we're faster than Emerson. But in traffic, it's a struggle. And Mears has got a handful here as far as handling in turbulence and traffic.
So, Derek, that's fully a factor of the turbulence coming off of the other cars as we look at Roger Penske, the team owner for Sullivan, Fittipaldi, and Mears.
Well, that's right. When the other car ahead of you goes through the air, it creates such a dirty air feeling that the turbulence, the air that hits the car that you're driving, is so disturbed, you don't get the downforce you need. And downforce is what makes these cars have grip, and downforce is what gives you confidence to always keep your foot in the throttle.
2nd place, Bobby Rahal overhauls the Alfa Romeo-powered machine of Roberto Guerrero, currently running in 11th place. That really is a spectacular effort by Roberto Guerrero, who is in his last 2 rides in that particular car. It's not anticipated that he will come back as the driver of the Alfa Romeo. In fact, here at this track, Danny Sullivan's name seems to be most often mentioned as the pilot to replace Roberto Guerrero next year. They're also saying that John Andretti will move into the Hall VDS Pennzoil spot. We're back live in Nazareth, Pennsylvania, and the crowd here getting a whale of a show with Emerson Fittipaldi running out in front with a 200-mile run. ESPN's coverage of the CART Bosch Spark Plug Grand Prix is being brought to you by the U.S. Navy. You and the Navy, full speed ahead. By Firestone, tires that meet the test. And by your Toyota dealers and their quality line of cars and trucks. Toyota, I love what you do for me. So we're under caution. Let's go to Gary Gerald.
And Michael Andretti has taken advantage of the yellow to come in. His words on the radio, Paul, he says this car wants to spin in every turn. They've changed the wing again. They were going to go another 1.5 turns, 14.5 seconds, and he's out. They say the handling characteristics may be the worst of it any time this season on that car right now. That's what they're trying to correct.
Yellow light winked on just a few seconds ago. The report is that there is some debris on the racetrack, and while they clean that up, they bottle the crew up behind Johnny Rutherford in the PPG pace car. Rutherford, by the way, hoping to put together a deal next year and get out of that pace car seat and back into a race car. We should have 1 lap of caution back to the green flag.
Wings and tire stagger are really the only things that the Newman-Haas team can quickly change on Michael's car to rectify that situation. Give him less front wing, more rear wing, or less stagger on the rear. That also tries to induce some push into the car.
Now, as we watch them circle around, take a look right behind Emerson Fittipaldi, because it's a wonderful story. That bright red number 50 car, that is Mike Groff. He is starting in his first race here, and he is running in 8th place. A spectacular ride for a really brilliant young race driver. As Fittipaldi picks up the pace, good chance for Mike to really learn something about running on the ovals. The green flag is out again, and Fittipaldi begins to pull away from the rest of the field, maintaining his lead over Bobby Rahal.
Of course, Mike Groff, we've seen him win many, many races on ESPN, but he's in heavier company than he's ever been in before right here as he runs behind Emerson, and the whole pack are snarling down behind him trying to catch him.
The fight between Little Al, Rahal. Of course, not a fight on the circuit itself. Little Al just sits there keeping track of this battle, but Rahal and Rick Mears definitely in the fight.
This is turn 2, 150 miles an hour. Look at that head leaning against that pad. We mentioned that earlier on, but now look at Rick trying to get by Al Jr.
Rick Mears puts him a lap down as he tries to keep in contact with second place Bobby Rahal. Rick runs in 3rd place right now. Little Al has to be as careful as he can.
The problem Little Al has, we mentioned at the top of the show, he has to drive defensively. That means whenever anybody puts even half a move on him, he has to let him go. He's almost forced to let him go because he can't take that chance. Remember, it's a precious points lead that he built up in the middle of the season, and that's what he's trying to protect.
And keeping track of that championship fight, Michael Andretti is currently in 7th place. Of course, he needs to win, while this man, Al Unser Jr., runs in 5th, and that's where he needs to be. 6th or better now, and the championship is his when this day is over.
It's not looking good for Michael. Very seldom in races as fast as this, when you have as much trouble, you don't have enough time to make the critical changes. So it does not look good for Michael, because the car was not good right from the green flag.
And while you say that, the one thing about the mile here at Nazareth, as we watch Rahal make a maneuver coming inside Mario Andretti, not a pass for position, but it continues Rahal's pursuit of Emerson Fittipaldi. Things happen so very quickly on any mile, and especially here. We have in the past seen some very strange incidents, and of course that could change the status of things rather quickly.
We're watching Eddie Cheever now running ahead of Bobby Rahal. Rick Mears still watches every track and every move that Rahal makes. There's Mario. They're going to lose him, but Cheever now about to be passed by Rahal.
We watch the action at the front of the field. Rahal trying to catch up to Emerson Fittipaldi. Rick Mears runs in 3rd place. There's a great deal of excitement a little later here on ESPN. The richest tournament on the senior PGA Tour, the Vantage Championship Golf. Charlie Goody now has a one-shot lead over Al Geiberger and Lee Trevino, as we'll be joining them in the final round. Today's final round, the Vantage Golf Championship. That's live at 4 o'clock Eastern here on ESPN.
Rahal is running in a very strong 2nd place. I'm sure Rahal hates to hear his name ever associated with 2nd place, because 5 times this year, and he was in a position to win a lot of those races. He didn't back into his 2nd place. He lost his wins rather. But Rahal, the perennial 2nd place man this year, and he's not able to catch Fittipaldi. Fittipaldi continues to draw away.
Emerson Fittipaldi looking for career win number 12. And of course, among those victories, we're talking the Indianapolis 500 and the IndyCar World Series Championship. Rahal runs in front. Bobby Rahal is 2nd, but Rick Mears now comes up to try to overhaul Bobby Rahal. They battle together on the course. They have Eddie Cheever lying just ahead of them. Fittipaldi well out in front of this field, a full lap now.
Look at this traffic jam. It looks like the freeway. Rahal, look at Mears tries to go around the outside, take advantage of Rahal being down low. But look at this traffic they're fighting.
Looking as Mears watching ahead to traffic and keeping track of Rahal's positioning on the course. Rahal tries under Eddie Cheever. Rick Mears closes up right behind Rahal, trying to stay in contact with Rahal. He certainly doesn't want to get bottled up behind anybody else. But now, for the moment, they settle off as Rahal comes under Danny Sullivan. Sullivan runs in 12th at the moment.
Sullivan not having a good day. He's already had 2 pit stops. Rahal moves down under Buddy Lazier again, and Mears right behind them.
So Bobby Rahal continues to try to hold off Rick Mears as they throttle their way through traffic. We'll be back with more. Back at Nazareth. Nazareth. As against the wall, it's Al Unser Jr. Al Unser Jr. tangles with Arie Luyendyk. Danny Sullivan stomps down on the brakes, and the championship is up for grabs once again as Al Unser Jr. into the wall. Both cars tangling hard, debris all over the track, and the yellow is out.
This is where they break at the end of that long back stretch, or that short back stretch. They got together. Both cars are heavily in the wall. Al Jr. still in that car, very, very shaken.
So let's go down to the pits, Gary Gerald.
And Sullivan has pulled in quickly, Paul. He has come in and immediately jumped out of the car. Buckets of water came up. We didn't see any evidence of any fire, but Sullivan, who's been having brake rotor problems, is clearly done for the day, although we don't see damage to the car.
So Danny Sullivan, who had to jump on the brakes with that stop, out of his car. Al Unser Jr. shaken up in that accident. Arie Luyendyk and he now talk over the situation. The kart safety team around them. But there's the championship. We mentioned how things can change so quickly, and there it is.
Of course, remember, Michael Andretti, we know he still is having handling trouble. He must win this race, but Al Unser Jr. was very, very shaken in that wall-banging incident.
Let's go to the Gallus pits. Here's Lynn St. James.
Thank you, Paul. And with Rick Gallus, Rick, it's got to be a tremendous disappointment. There still is one race left. I know you've talked to Al on the radio. Is he all right?
That's the only thing we really care about. He said he was okay. I really haven't had a chance to check his condition, but nothing else matters than he's okay. I don't care about anything else.
I know that was your first concern at Indy when he had the problem and didn't win there, but hopefully he is okay as far as you know. You've talked to him.
I've talked to him, and I think everything's okay, but we'll have to just see.
Okay, tremendous disappointment for the team, but you guys can hang in there.
See what happens.
115 miles complete. Thank you very much, Lynn St. James. Emerson Fittipaldi has the lead, and there is the battered and broken race car of Al Unser Jr. Arie Luyendyk's just ahead as they try to clean up the track. Let's go back and try and re-examine this accident again, Eric.
This is the end of the backstretch. Look what happened. Oh, it started with Sullivan and Luyendyk, and they wrapped up Al Jr. Look at the two cars go backwards. Very, very hard contact. Look at the flames from the magnesium. That's the wheels and the uprights. But Al Jr. looks like an innocent victim of an accident between Sullivan and Arie Luyendyk.
Well, that gives you a great deal more information as you see that the real cause was Sullivan down low and Luyendyk trying to pass him. Now you take a look on board, the same situation with Al Unser Jr. Now everything is happening behind him.
My word, have you ever heard audio from an in-car camera as dramatic as that? And look at Al Jr. puts his hand out of the cockpit in total disbelief. Here's a slow motion run through it again. Look at Luyendyk and Sullivan. They make contact. Bang, right there. Sullivan begins to spin. Luyendyk, look, he just catches Al Jr.'s rear wheel. Look at the car rise up. Now they're probably doing 150 miles an hour. Make contact here, lose off maybe 30 miles an hour. Look at the flames. That's from Luyendyk's car. What an incredible piece of audio from the in-car camera. I've never seen anything as dramatic as that caught on an audio reel.
And as Sullivan was struggling to keep it under control, Eddie Cheever came sliding through that as well. Let's go to the pits again, Gary Gerald.
Well, Paul, we're looking at a part of a gearbox from either Luyendyk or Unser's car, but it's not in their pit. It came on the nose of Danny Sullivan's car, and it's in the Penske pit. Now, Danny is out of the car, as we mentioned. Maybe we can steal a word. He's talking with Grant Newberry and Chuck Sprague, and it had been a struggle. I understand vibrations may be brake-related, but tell us about this incident where you really had to jump on those brakes.
Well, of course, we came into the traffic situation, and my car wasn't handling the best, so I came out of the corner and went down low into turn 3 because I could see little Al, wanting to pass. So I was going to give him the line, went on the brakes, and Luyendyk jumped in the middle of the two of us and drove right over the right front of my car. Just came charging right over the hill. I don't know. He was waving his fist at me, and I thought, man, the only place I had to go was up the pit lane. I couldn't get any more. I couldn't get any more to the left. So I don't know what they. Everybody's out there racing. You're trying to get out of their way, and I thought I'd done that, but I guess he wanted a bit of the road that I was driving on.
Well, Danny Sullivan is out of it, and of course there's one more race in a Penske uniform. It's in 2 weeks at Laguna Seca. Hopefully better fortune there, Danny.
Well, we hope so. It was a bad day for us, but hopefully Rick and Emerson can pull it out.
All right, let's check back up with Paul.
All right, a lot of speculation. Perhaps, Gary Gerald, you can still catch Danny. A lot of speculation on where he goes next year. They were hoping to execute a contract. Any chance of asking that?
Well, let's find out. Danny, before you get away, Paul Page is just wondering, the talk about you and the Pat Patrick team, would you make any comment about what's been going on in those conversations?
Well, not really at this time. You know, I'm just a free agent, and we're talking to a lot of people, and Pat Patrick's one of them.
Okay, there you hear it, straight from the man.
Whatever it is, we look forward to Danny Sullivan back in the car next year as he leaves the Penske stable. Now they're cleaning up from this accident between Al Unser Jr. and Arie Luyendyk, as we'll get a chance here to take a look at it once again. And we'll take a look at it on board with Al Unser Jr. Now at this time, Arie Luyendyk trying to close to the inside. And of course, the steering wheel ripped out of little Al's hands. He just lets go and put his hands up so he doesn't get his hands caught in the spokes of the wheel and find them damaged. Now, this shows it very clearly. 3 cars abreast. Arie Luyendyk, who had been battling with little Al for the place on the track for about 16 laps, comes over the top of Sullivan, his left rear very dangerously close to Sullivan's head. Cheever comes flying through, and Luyendyk and Al Unser Jr. go into the wall, and it changes the entire complexion of the PPG IndyCar World Series Championship. We're under caution at Pennsylvania International Raceway, Nazareth, Pennsylvania. Emerson Fittipaldi is in front. Rick Mears in second place. Third is Bobby Rahal. We'll be back. What many hoped would be the car that would roll into the championship circle with Al Unser Jr. on board at the end of this race is now in the back of the wrecker and being towed back into the paddock area at Pennsylvania International Raceway. A broken and battered machine. Al Unser Jr. a bit stunned, but okay, out of the car. And the championship battle goes on to the final race of the season. In 2 weeks, you'll see coverage here on ESPN at Laguna Seca, California. Arie Luyendyk's car, Indianapolis 500 champion, also on the back of the wrecker. Close racing, a close track. Contact with the wall, and the championship changes just that quickly. Let's go to Lynn St. James for an update on Arie.
Thank you, Paul. Arie, I'm really glad that you're okay. What happened out on the racetrack?
Well, little Al was following Danny, and Danny slowed him down. I got a good draft on little Al, pulled up alongside him. In the meantime, Danny moved over to the left to let us by, and then he comes back into turn 3 and he hits me, and then I hit Al. So here I'm taking Al out. I was running for the championship. Both cars are damaged heavily, and I've got a pretty good headache, and I'm really pissed off about it. I can't believe that Sullivan put on a move like that. He should know better.
A lot of traffic. We knew traffic was going to be a problem, but you wouldn't think it would be against 3 front runners.
Traffic was a problem, but everybody was doing a real good job. I think the back markers and also the guys who were, doing the lapping. And it's just too bad it was to see that, somebody who was running that good, like Little Al and myself, were just taken out by a stupid mistake.
Well, you had a great run going. We're really sorry, and certainly, of course, you will be okay and be running at Laguna Seca. Yeah. Thank you very much for the interview. Yes. Okay.
Sad moment for the Indy champion, Arie Luyendyk.
Emotion plays such a great part in this racing, but I think when Arie looks back on the tape of the incident, he probably will see that Sullivan, in fairness, did not have anywhere else to go except down through the pit lane. So I think he might see a little bit differently later on.
And under the caution, the leader, Emerson Fittipaldi, rolls into the pits. Here's Gary Gerald.
And Paul, they played it right down to where they think now this should be the final stop. They got enough laps under yellow to get him in. Remember, he has that full lap lead prior to the yellow. Mears made a stop earlier. It's questionable if Mears can go the distance. They were gambling for a yellow. Fittipaldi is away in about 12.6 on our clock. A good stop here under caution, but keep in mind that should be his final stop of the afternoon. Paul?
At 124 miles out, 76 miles to go. We're back in Nazareth, Pennsylvania. You're looking at an invention of Rick Mears. It's that extra strip of asphalt inside the track called the warm-up lane. He helped design that when Roger Penske built this track as a result of his accident at Sanair, and they're using it now. Well, here's the race summary after 120 miles complete. Fittipaldi is the leader. We're in our third caution right now as a result of the accident between Arie Luyendyk and Al Unser Jr. Michael Andretti, well, what does he have to do to stay alive in the championship fight? Finish first or second? First or second for Michael Andretti. He runs in 4th place right now. The onboard camera view is over Michael's shoulder. Out of race, Luyendyk and Sullivan, of course, as a result of that accident. And this is onboard Teo Fabi's car. He's in 11th place. And there you get a good idea of what that warm-up lane is all about. And it was Rick Mears' idea that if there was this extra piece of track available to the drivers, then they could run slow without being up on the fast part of the race course during warm-up periods. And here it's paying off because it allows them to cycle the cars away from the track itself, and that will help clean up that area where the accident occurred that much faster.
This car that we're in right now of Teo Fabi's is in fact the car that he ran in the Marlboro Challenge yesterday. Now most of the other people ran their spare cars in the Marlboro Challenge, but we're over Fabi's shoulder for the first time, I believe, this year watching the Italian at work. He didn't have a good qualifying run. I was out of turn 2 watching what happened. His car looked very, very uncomfortable during that critical qualifying lap. Qualified a lot worse down than he likes in 13th place. So Fabi probably not having the type of weekend that he travels all the way from Italy each weekend to have.
Of course, Teo Fabi is one of those who will be without a ride because the Porsche effort goes away at the end of this season, though he has been mentioned as the driver for his current team manager, Derek Walker. As they come up with a new team next year, Teo Fabi seems to be the most obvious choice for Derek Walker's driver. More activity coming up here on ESPN. The Thoroughbreds off and running. The race to the Breeders' Cup continues with the Turf Classic Sunday afternoon at 3 o'clock Eastern, live right here on ESPN. From horses back to horsepower. The accident between Al Unser Jr. and Arie Luyendyk, Danny Sullivan, taking all 3 cars away, changing the look of the championship points, giving Michael Andretti an opportunity. Michael currently runs in 4th place, but he still needs to move forward and pick up 2nd place. Roger Penske,
although he does run in 4th place, he's actually at the head of the line behind the pace car, so he does have a good opportunity to try and pull away. In fact, just as I said that, he ducked into the pits for service.
Let's go to Gary Gerald.
And Michael Andretti right on the marks as he comes in for what should be his final servicing of the day. And this yellow is helping everybody in terms of fuel mileage. It's helping them get in sync on pit stops. This will be the final stop for him. It's purely routine and under 11 seconds by a fraction. An excellent stop with the benefit of the yellow. And Paul, if we can take just a moment, already I know wheels start turning and you wonder, you know that Michael's got to be up there, win, finish 2nd, keep those title hopes alive. And Mario has been a place in front of him. They tell us that no talk has been taken place thus far about team strategy and whether or not they would reposition the Andrettis on the racetrack. They won't talk about it until it really becomes a reality when we get down to the stage of the race. But it's kind of something that might be worth a little conjecture here, particularly on the part of Derek Daly as we look ahead to these final laps.
Well, Derek, they may not talk about it on the radio, but certainly Michael and Mario are both very aware of their positioning.
I believe they are. The problem with, Paul, talking on the radio, other teams can monitor what your radios are saying, so often private conversations are not that private after all.
All right, let's go a little further down the pits. Lynn St. James.
Yes, Paul. I'm with Shelley Unser, a dear friend, and she has some good news.
They said Al's going to be fine. He's got, I guess, a slight concussion, and they're going to take him to get a CAT scan just to make sure.
Well, that's good. Yeah, being sure is very important, but most important, you got to see him, and he's okay.
Right, he's fine.
Good. Okay, well, so fortunately, we got one more left, and this is going to be okay, and it's over, and we'll go on to the next one.
Yep.
Thanks.
We'll be there.
Okay. Okay, Paul, back to you.
So Michael Andretti must finish 1st or 2nd. So now, Terry, what are we running? The possibility that the championship could be decided, and like when Johnny Rutherford won one of his championships, the champion isn't even at the racetrack. He's out getting x-rayed somewhere.
That's right. We watched the lineup of cars here. How Michael wishes this was the actual lineup on the scoring chart because he's right behind Emerson Fittipaldi. But in fact, he is he's 2 laps down now because of that last pit stop. So 2 laps are going to be very, very difficult to make up on Emerson, who's been so strong all afternoon. It is an uphill battle in his backyard here at Nazareth.
Trying to make sense of the way this order will come back. Certainly it's not displayed behind the pace car. Fittipaldi is the leader of the race. He has a full lap on the field. Rick Mears is in 2nd place. He runs on the same lap with Bobby Rahal. Then 2 laps down, as you mentioned, Mario and Michael Andretti running 4th and 5th place. Eddie Cheever, who narrowly avoided disaster himself in that accident, runs in 6th place, 4 laps behind the leader. The pace now begins to pick up as we anticipate the green flag. Rutherford takes the pace car off the track. The green comes out, and we're racing once again in now what should be a run to the finish with 131 miles of the 200 complete.
Rick moves inside Bobby. Rahal tries to do the same thing. Door gets closed, can't quite make it. Rick and Rahal have raced wheel to wheel all afternoon. Rahal is now in third place, but even if second was the best he could do and make it 6 second places this year, he'd want to take it.
Rick Mears got a superlative restart. He's very good at it. He talks about the pacing necessary to come back successfully on a restart from a caution period. Well, there you see the mastery of it. He was directly behind the pace car and now begins to separate himself from second place Bobby Rahal, or third place Bobby Rahal. Fourth place is Mario Andretti. Michael runs in fifth place. The leader, of course, still Fittipaldi, a lap out in front.
Of course, there are no more pit stops. There's not enough laps left now to have to make another pit stop. They've got enough fuel on board. They've all got good tires, so it is a sprint for the final run to the checkered flag here. No more stops.
So Michael Andretti, with his work cut out for him, must move forward at least 3 positions, come up into second place if he is going to keep his hopes for a championship alive. By the way, everyone here sends their best wishes. Beautifully groomed 1 mile oval here, really a tri-oval. Emerson Fittipaldi is the leader. Rick Mears and Bobby Rahal have come back onto the leader lap. They are just behind, or just ahead of Fittipaldi, though. He could put them both a lap down very, very quickly. The fight is between Rahal and Mears. Mears runs in second place while Fittipaldi runs all alone. Remember, Fittipaldi won his IndyCar championship here last year at Nazareth. The championship will not be decided today. Michael and, well, it could be, but it would require a great maneuver by Michael Andretti with Al Unser Jr. getting into the wall. Al Unser Jr. really needed a 6th or better to wrap it up. Well, he didn't get that, slamming the wall hard with Arie Luyendyk. They're going to take him for a examination at the hospital. They don't seem really concerned, but they also don't want to take any chances. Fittipaldi, well, he's having a spectacularly smooth run.
Of course, 6th or better, you mentioned. That was if Michael did win the race. But Emerson, as we see here, is the master of the day. He's actually pulling away just a little bit each time.
And a car against the wall. It's Greenfield. Just past the start-finish line. Greenfield comes to a stop. Heavy damage to the right side of the car. And we're under caution once again.
This is turn 1, just right past the starter stand. It's a flat-out 155-mile-an-hour corner. Michael Greenfield lost it on the way in. Did hit very, very hard with that right side. We see Debbie Rahal just looking to make sure it's not her husband that's involved, because it takes a little bit of time to work out exactly how many cars were involved. But the safety crew is there. There's part of the car. That looks like the front wheel. A lot of debris here. Did hit quite hard. See the rear wheel broken off that car. The car quite heavily damaged.
With a resounding bang against the wall. Greenfield catches it. The safety team working with Michael in his car. Now that gives a chance for both Rick Mears and Bobby Rahal to close up. So they will be right with him. Here we take a look at it just as he gets into the wall, Derek.
We see him already doing the damage here. He came through the kink and hit on the way out. It's very hard to see whether he touched anybody on the way in or not. But Michael Greenfield hard up against the wall at the kink at turn 1.
Michael was running in 13th place, so he had a nice day going. Look at that. You talk about pushing into the wall. Look at the skid marks, Derek. Straight on in almost. So Michael Greenfield still in the car. They work with him. We'll keep track of that situation. Emerson Fittipaldi takes advantage. Greenfield just on the edge of the racetrack at turn 1 at Nazareth, Pennsylvania International Raceway. He was running in 13th place when suddenly lost control, slammed into the wall. And now the safety team must cut the race car out from about him. He's still in the car, but of course there's a doctor right there, and they keep very close track of the race driver. There's an expert in extrication, in fact several firefighters, everything there needed to make the rescue necessary. And of course the other situation is, as Rick Mears comes into the pits, let's go to Gary Gerald and we'll update Michael.
Well, Rick Mears comes in during this yellow. They make a wing adjustment only. No tires, no fuel. He's in for just a fraction of 3 or 4 seconds, and they made one adjustment on the right front nose wing, and he was quickly back out.
You try and get 3-second service on your car someday. That's what the Penske organization gives Rick Mears. He comes back in, and of course Mears and Rahal both are now going to come back in contact with Fittipaldi when the green flag comes out again. What I was about to say about Michael Greenfield is times have changed substantially in rescue as you see them there working with the car. No longer do we just grab the driver and snatch him out of the car. More often than not, they hurt him more taking him out. They take their time. There's a replay once again, Derek. Catch it right at the end, though.
It looks as if the right front suspension and wheel, when it broke off, it looks as if it has actually penetrated the cockpit area. because we could clearly see the footbox on the front of the car was in good condition. It did not look heavily damaged, but they are down there with the jaws of life extricating Michael, and looks at that cockpit side. Now this is an 87 Lola, and of course Kirk Russell and the kart organizers constantly try and improve these cars, and one of the areas that they've been working on is of course the side of the cockpit, because of these problems that we've had wheels coming in through the cockpit area. We can see them shielding it, so we're pretty sure that's what it is. But remember, he is in the best hands right there for a situation like this.
So they continue to work with Michael Greenfield. Again, they use that warm-up lane for the cars as they circle under the caution. And Bobby Rahal and Rick Mears take advantage of this caution, will move into contact with the leader. There's Raul Boisel in the number 8 True Sports entry. He is running in 8th place right now. Now, True Sports, of course, designing the All-American car for next year, have decided to take an option on the contract of Paul Tracy after they gave him a test at Mid-Ohio, and he performed spectacular. Now, that doesn't affect Scott Pruitt's ride. Scott Pruitt is without question the number 1 driver, but what it does do is if they could acquire some sponsorship for a second car, will give Paul Tracy, the ARS ace, a real opportunity to move forward and drive with the True Sports team. And now, of course, Steve Horn, the president there at True Sports, said that it would be to their benefit to have a 2-car team, especially in the development of a new car.
Well, I think in the years past, people have said, oh, I want a 1-car team. I don't want to have a teammate. But now if you look at the 2-car teams, the Newman-Haas, the Gallus-Craco, and of course the Penske for a long time, the 2-car operations are the most successful on the racetrack right now. The reason being, if you have good drivers in those cars, you can take 2 different routes of testing, go 2 different roads, and get double the information. And when you begin to pool that type of information, you can get twice the amount of testing done as a normal 1-car team. So I think the old adage of only 1-car teams being successful has definitely been blown out of the water. The 2-car team is the way to go, and probably the wave of the future.
Well, they continue to circle behind the PPG pace car under caution here at Nazareth. We'll be back with more. The race will come back to a fight with Fittipaldi. Second place, Rick Mears. This set of stops and this caution definitely helped Rick Mears. He gained positions on that pit stop with a change. I'm sure the officials may take a look at that situation. He came in running in second, but there were 7 cars between him and Fittipaldi. His stop was so quick on the watch at 2.4 seconds, he actually was able to pass up the cars, not for position, but able to get around them physically, so he's in contact with Fittipaldi. Now, how does the rule read on that? You can't improve your position, but that refers to first, second, third, Derek.
In a situation where you're behind cars, I know that the driver, if he recognizes that he may hold up a faster car, can wave the driver by, the faster driver by, but he must make sure that all the kart officials that are necessary do see the maneuver. I can't see how Rick can have passed all those people in such a quick run down the pit lane and got up behind Fittipaldi. I'm sure that there's some head scratching going on over at the kart center right now.
There's going to be an interesting semantics definition there. Is improving your position passing for position or just getting a more advantageous physical position?
I believe improving your position is passing any car under yellow.
Any car.
However, I did not write the rule book, and I do not have the rule book here in my hand.
Your law degree is from the University of Ireland.
Well, that's right, the Dublin Law Society.
Well, we'll wait, we'll watch. Gary Gerald is going to keep track of that situation in the Penske pits, but there they are lined up. Let's run down through the order as they continue to work on Michael Greenfield. Emerson Fittipaldi, Michael Greenfield obviously still in the car, and they're taking their time with him. Plenty of medical help right there. Fittipaldi leads. Second is Rick Mears. He's right behind Fittipaldi. Then Bobby Rahal, Mario Andretti. Michael Andretti is 5th. Michael must move up to at least second place if he wants to stay alive in the championship. If he doesn't, Al Unser Jr. is the champion here, despite the fact that he's going to go over to local hospital, and they'll check that possible slight concussion. They don't seem worried about him in terms of is he at any risk, but they also don't want to take any chances. Eddie Cheever runs right now behind Michael in 6th place. Mike Groff in 7th place. What a spectacular run by that young man. Raul Boisel, you saw him a moment ago. He is in 8th, and then Scott Goodyear, maybe he'll break the streak. He's in 9th right now. He's finished 10th at every other oval race this year. In 10th place is Roberto Guerrero in the Alfa. The Porsche is in 11th place. Right behind him, we're going to miss the Porsche when they go away. What an exciting effort this year. Scott Brayton is 12th. Buddy Lazier is up to 13th. His dad's got to be happy there. Guido Dacco is in 14th. And Michael Greenfield, the accident, the cause for this caution being scored in 15th place right now.
Still using this pit lane. This is a really good shot here of this extra warm-up lane. The reason being this is for safety reasons. At such a high speed, very tight oval, you didn't want to have cars running 160 miles an hour through fast turns and have somebody running 40 miles an hour in a slow lane. So they moved the lane away.
There, of course, you see Michael Greenfield. They have him out of the car. He is on a gurney and being loaded into an ambulance. They'll take him directly to the local hospital here. And our best wishes go with Michael Greenfield as well. And as soon as CART makes one of the doctors available, Dr. Steve Alvey turns around with a final instruction, then we'll have an opportunity to get the official update on him. And as is our policy here at ESPN, we're not going to speculate anything on that situation whatsoever. We have the promise of CART that we'll hear it officially just as soon as they can make it available, and that's the word that we'll pass to you. Let's go to Gary Gerald.
While we're watching a conversation, Roger Penske talking with Connie Ensing, one of the CART officials. Richard Buck was leaning in. Tell us now what happened on that last stop. We saw the wing adjustment, but were you able to improve your position with that very fast stop?
No, right now we're still just ahead of Rahal and behind Fittipaldi. That's where we were running when he radioed to us that the car had a large amount of push in it. The front end was washing out, so we'd like to come in and put 2 holes of front wing in it so we can go back racing again once they get this accident cleaned up.
Now, once they get that cleaned up, you don't have a lot of time. Do you think that there's still the possibility that you can flag down the teammate and catch Emerson?
Oh yeah, the car's been handling real good. We've been taking it pretty easy in traffic. It's pretty hectic out there today. So he's been playing it pretty cool up till now, but I think we got the car handling well. We'll give it a shot.
Thank you, Richard.
Thank you.
Gary, with the officials talking to Roger, is there any concern that there might be some sort of enforcement action with regard to Rick?
Well, that'll be the next thing we'll try to pursue here and see if we can get any kind of a comment. Conversation going on with team manager Chuck Sprague and Roger Penske. Peter Gibbons is there as well, and we're just mispositioned, but we'll try to update and let you know as soon as we know anything.
And, of course, we'll also try and find out what Bobby Rahal's crew thinks of the situation. With Roger, of course, we're talking Penske cars first and second. Michael Greenfield's car, boy, look at the damage on that thing.
Remember, Paul, Penske's need to get this situation resolved before this green flag comes out, because they do have an opportunity to move back in line if that is necessary. But they need to get this sorted out before the green flag comes out.
All right, what about the situation as viewed from the Bobby Rahal team? Let's go to Lynn St. James.
Thank you, Paul. I'm with Barry Green. Barry, what was your understanding of what happened when Rick came in and made that pit stop?
Well, it's real close on the fuel to make it from there to the end, and he did a legitimate stop. He came in and put a few gallons of fuel in. We were about to do the same thing when Bobby noticed his right rear was going down, so we had to come in and change tires, but we're not sure how much fuel we got in there now. We might have to put a couple more gallons in, so we may be back in a minute to do the same thing. So,
thank you very much.
Okay.
Very busy here in the pits.
So Barry Green not concerned at all. They don't use your interpretation, Derek. They say if you pass them on the track, that'd be a different situation. Let's go to Gary Gerald.
And Paul, down at the end of pit road, Dr. Steve Olvey has come by. The jet dryer makes a lot of noise in the background. Dr. Olvey, tell us about Michael Greenfield.
Well, he was initially unconscious, Gary, but he was coming to and was awake at the time that we put him in the ambulance. Dr. Trammell is with him now. He has an injury to his right arm. We don't suspect any other significant injuries, but we'll have to examine him in the safety center, and that's what Dr. Trammell's doing now.
Now, can you tell us anything about Al Unser Jr. as well?
Al Unser Jr. had a minor concussion. He now is completely awake and alert, but we sent him to a local hospital for a precautionary head CAT scan. We expect that to be perfectly normal, and we anticipate him being released tonight.
Was he unconscious?
He was just dazed. He was not totally unconscious.
Okay, thank you, Doctor.
Okay.
Paul?
Rick Gallis continues to watch the race despite the fact that his driver is out. Dr. Trammell is, of course, an orthopedic surgeon who has had such luminaries as patients as Derek Daly and Paul Page. So Michael Greenfield is in excellent hands as we wait to see whether or not this man, Rick Gallis, will be the owner of a championship car.
Mears was positioned ahead of Rahal when he came in. He made his stop perfectly. He blended perfectly. According to Penske and CART officials, no problem on the positioning on the racetrack.
All right, so we're ready to go racing. You can see that Eddie Cheever is now lined up just in front of Rick.
I think blending was the operative word. That explains it. He blended back into the line.
Nick Finaro, the starter, has the green flag in hand. We're out. We're running again. Mears starts his pursuit of teammate Fittipaldi. They will stay teammates next season, though the cars will be identical. Other objectives, Rahal must close up, and Michael Andretti has to close at least 2 miles on the leader, get back on the leader lap, and move into second place. There's Teresa Fittipaldi as she cheers Emerson on and around this track. It's been very good to him. Will it give him a win here today? It gave him a championship last year.
This could be a very difficult situation for Emerson here because Rick knows exactly every inch of this racetrack. Now, we saw Rick made a very small wing change during one of his earlier pit stops. So if he made such a small wing change, it means he's very happy with the handling of that car. So I think Emerson may have his hands full. But remember, Emerson has been very, very strong all afternoon.
Fittipaldi. Now, Derek, what I wonder, we're talking 2 cars that are virtually identical out of the same team. While on one hand, Rick knows everything that can be known about that race car, does he know the same things about Fittipaldi's car?
Well, that's the thing. We spoke earlier on about pooling information, Rick being the master on the ovals, but Emerson has the ability to really finely tune his cars on these oval tracks also, and hence he's so fast all the time. Remember the comment earlier on by Richard Buck. In dirty air, Rick wasn't that happy. That might be one of the critical areas, dirty air, because he has to run in that turbulent dirty air behind Emerson.
And right at the moment, the dirty air extends back just a bit. But Rick Mears, you'll see him turn inside just a little bit earlier. No doubt he's trying to pick up as much clean air as he can to his wings.
That's right. We see Emerson just stretches about 3 or 4 car lengths. We saw him do that earlier on when he led the race, and he's pulling away ever so slightly from Rick. That's turn 2. That was Rick's best corner yesterday during the Marlboro Challenge, but I don't think he has quite the advantage. Now look what happens in traffic. Look how much he pulls up when Emerson gets up behind Guido Dacco. Traffic may make the difference.
Fittipaldi has to come very carefully past Guido Dacco, and Mears is able to close in. There comes Fittipaldi and Rick. They're both around Dacco now, but Mears is sitting right on the back of Fittipaldi, and they've got Teo Bobby just ahead of them. Bobby, very savvy on an oval, certainly is aware of the positioning, comes high, lets Fittipaldi come under, lets Mears come under. The fight continues. Buddy Lazier lies just ahead.
That's it. Buddy Lazier moves to the high side. We saw him do that, but he moves back low, and Rick Mears has to go around the outside, work much harder through turn 2.
You saw Rick wasn't very happy with that one whatsoever. It cost Rick, and that's what we were talking about earlier. You see the first car, you also had to be aware there may be another one right there.
Well, that's right. I don't think Buddy Lazier moved down because he knew Mears was there. I'm sure he thought Emerson was running by himself because Lazier really has been very careful all afternoon, moving to the high side and letting the race continue on. But Mears, whereas he gained about 10 car lengths earlier on, he lost them on that battle with Lazier.
How terribly frustrating for Rick Mears. You spend lap after lap trying to catch someone, and then just that quickly, all the advantage goes back away.
And the speeds are so high here. We look at it all the time. In those left-hand turns, never get below 125 miles an hour, which is down here. Teresa Fittipaldi, Emerson's wife, looks on, bites her nails, checks her heartbeat. She wants Emerson to win. Remember, he has not won a race this year.
The pursuit continues as they close up on the Amway car of Scott Brayton, and again, it gives a slight advantage to Mears in closing. Now is Scotty aware that Rick Mears is there? Mears maneuvers to the outside. And Mears clear of Brayton now. Continues to chase Fittipaldi.
During Fittipaldi's stops, we never saw him make any changes to his front wings or his rear wing. He just put tires on and threw fuel in it. That's usually a good sign that he's confident in the handling of his car. Mears again closes down. Now he's only about 4 car lengths behind.
This is the only fight on the track at the moment. Mears trying to catch teammate Fittipaldi for the lead. Bobby Rahal is third. Again, they come inside Guido Daco. Didn't we just see that? Look, that give you an idea how fast they're going?
That gives you an idea how important it is for Daco to stay away. But you see what Emerson did? When he moved down inside Daco, he daren't move back up with a high group because Rick could have come down the inside. He stayed down low and protected that lead that he had.
30 miles to go to the finish. Rahal is in third place. Mario Andretti is in fourth. A struggling Michael Andretti runs in fifth, desperately needing second place. At this point, what he needs is a break. Eddie Cheever is sixth. Mike Groff is seventh. Raul Boisel eighth. Scott Goodyear ninth. Roberto Guerrero 10th.
You mentioned he needs a break. Well, the break he needs is for two cars to break. We're back inside Michael's car here. He must be frustrated. He has fought the handling of this car all afternoon. He's now 2 laps down, and with every lap that goes by, I'm sure he can see his season's work and his championship hopes slowly fading away with that oversteer or loose condition that he has had all afternoon. Michael is in a very difficult situation.
Michael Andretti, too, one must remember. All of those psychological advantages you described at starting. At this point, Derek, they can work against him. He can be very conscious of the hometown crowd.
Well, that's right. I think he's going to be so busy with the handling of this car right now, he's probably not too worried about that. But a difficult situation because he had everything going for him. And then, of course, when Al Jr. had that big crash, he was in a perfect situation, except the car was not quite man enough for the job.
So keeping an eye on Michael Andretti as he maneuvers high on the target car of Eddie Cheever. Talked to Michael before the race, pointing out his great season, but asked him, is it bittersweet trying to unseat Al Unser Jr.?
Yeah, it's a little bittersweet. You know, we've had, I think, a great year, but it could have been really great if I would have finished a few more races. You know, we dropped out of 5 races, and Al Jr. only dropped out of 2, and you know, I think that's why we're sitting where we are in points right now.
The Michael Andretti, 5th place, not good enough.
Many people might think Michael is the fastest man in IndyCar racing right now. And just think of what could have happened if he had finished some of those races. Races that he was leading and had mechanical problems. It could have been so different today.
Michael Andretti. So many hopes at the start of this race now trickle away, despite the fact that Al Unser Jr. has been involved in his accident and his Andretti say it's over. Well, about 20 miles, it will be over regardless of what the Andrettis say. And right now, the fates are saying that Emerson Fittipaldi is on his way to a victory. Michael Andretti is staring second place in the IndyCar point standing right in the face once again. Here's the top of the order: Fittipaldi, Mears, Rahal, Mario, and then Michael. Al Unser Jr. at the hospital. We expect an update report on him, as we do from Michael Greenfield, both involved in separate accidents here. Taking a look at little Al, check on a possible concussion there. And Michael Greenfield, injury to his right arm. The leader of the race, of course, Emerson Fittipaldi, still being chased by Rick Mears. This is the closest, in fact, at the moment, the only battle on the track, as Mears continues to try and run down his teammate.
Mears does not have enough speed in that car to catch Emerson in a straight fight, but in traffic, Emerson, now he may be protecting his lead ever so slightly, but Mears only catches Emerson when they're in traffic. Now, that's a critical situation. Now look, here's Rahal, who's running a strong third place. Another lap down to the 2 Penske cars. Here's Mears trying to duck outside Rahal. Will he make? Yes, just before the King.
Oh, very brave move, though. Rahal still maintaining his line, and Mears cutting it very close there. Of course, when you're talking an oval, the fellow who is best able to pace himself and look at the traffic, that both of them will soon engage. Mears is absolutely excellent at deciding how to keep his momentum going. On board with Bobby Rahal, third place. That yellow streak ahead is Rick Mears. As he drops inside, there's Debbie Rahal watching her husband run in third place.
It's a traffic jam they're in now. We're inside Rahal's car. This is turn 2. The downhill run to turn 3. Listen to that engine scream on the brakes. Look at that traffic jam ahead of him. He's got to decide whether he goes outside or inside. But Mears is not getting through that traffic much better than Rahal. Mears is still only 3 car lengths ahead of him. In fact, he closes up. Look at how Mears is being held up.
Mears trying to close in. Rahal comes in behind Mears.
Oh, Mears made work hard again, has to go around the outside. Now look, Mears has to take chances here if he really thinks he's going to have a chance to win this race. Because if Emerson gets away, it's so hard in clean air to run him down. He's got to take
Yellow
chances in traffic.
Yellow flag comes out. No immediate indication as to the reason for the yellow, but with 14 laps to go, 14 miles to go in this 200-mile run, the yellow flag comes out again, and that will help make a race of it. Frustration on the face of Debbie Rahal. Must be a debris situation once again. Certainly no obvious indication as to why this yellow flag flies.
Sometimes the yellow flag reasons are not obvious here, but on speedways like this, when the speeds are so high, they do not take any chances. If any of the course workers say that there's debris or fluid on the racetrack, they have to throw a yellow because they can't take a chance that something may happen, because we saw what happened with Michael Greenfield. When you do make wall contact here, it can sometimes be serious.
Debris once again is the report on the track. So once again, the PPG pace car comes out in front of Emerson Fittipaldi. The field slows down, and this Fittipaldi leads Rick Mears and Bobby Rahal. We will see a 10-mile sprint to the finish when the green comes out. Today's live coverage of the CART Bosch Spark Plug Grand Prix for the IndyCars has been brought to you by Budweiser. Beechwood Age for that clean, crisp taste. This Bud's for you. By Goodyear Eagle Radials, the best-selling performance radials in the world. And by Quaker State. The Big Q is one tough motor oil. Air ambulance, Michael Greenfield on board, injury to his right arm. They're going to transport him to local hospital at Easton, Pennsylvania. Dr. Terry Trammell, an orthopedic surgeon, stayed with him all the way through the medical center. Result of his accident in the first turn. A lot of expensive equipment being damaged here today as we come toward the end of this season.
Very much a family situation here with the Greenfields. The team, his crew chief is his father, Peter. So very much a family situation, trying to put Michael Greenfield into competitive machinery for the IndyCar Series.
So again, the field is lined up behind the pace car. Let's take a good look. That's Fittipaldi, then Robbie Groff. Excuse me, Mike Croft. I was thinking of Robbie's win in the ARS race today. And Rick Mears is sitting in third. Then Mario, then Scotty, then Ray Hall as the pace now begins to pick up. And Fittipaldi will take them back to a green flag. They flash across the line with 191 miles complete.
Okay, Mears gets by Groff very, very quickly. His only chance now is to run Emerson down absolutely flat out. But I think Emerson, from what he has shown earlier on, has the speed to handle Mears. There's no traffic in front of Emerson, so he has a clear run. Let's be interested to see whether Mears was holding anything back. I don't think he was.
8 miles separates Emerson Fittipaldi from his first win of the 1990 season, but Rick Mears is there to dispute that.
This is a sprint. This is turn 2. Mears' favorite turn in this racetrack. I think he gained on Emerson right there.
Boy, he gained a bunch on Fittipaldi. Identical machines, both Penske's, both Chevrolet powered.
Remember, catching him is one thing, passing him is the other. The dirty air, the turbulence, that is Mears' biggest enemy if he catches Emerson.
193 miles now complete. 200 miles, 200 laps of scheduled distance. Mears continues to try to run down Fittipaldi.
Emerson will watch every move. He's staying high at the moment to protect his, staying high because of the fastest line. If Mears tries to come down the inside, I think you'll see Emerson close down a little bit earlier, but he's got a nice 3 or 4 car lengths right now.
Now with 6 miles to go for Fittipaldi. This could come down right to the checkered flag itself. It could be one of those NASCAR patented slingshot maneuvers. Rick is certainly in position. Remember, when he raced against Gordon Johncock at the Indianapolis 500, he learned a great deal from Johncock because they ran to the finish, Johncock beating him when Rick Mears was alongside him as they took the white flag together. So now, what has Rick Mears learned? Can he catch and pass Fittipaldi? Traffic, Guido Dacco just ahead.
I didn't think we'd catch traffic this fast, but such is the pace of the 2 leading Penskes. They're right in the middle of this freeway traffic again. But Rick is definitely faster through turn 2 than Emerson. This is turn 2 here. Rick is the faster car.
4 miles to go now for Mears and Fittipaldi as they battle at the front of the field. And again it stretches out. Scott Goodyear now lies in front of them. Goodyear runs in 9th place.
Goodyear needs to move over, let the leaders through. He lets Emerson through, back out of it. He lets Rick Mears through, down through the kink. This is turn 2. This is Rick's favorite corner.
3 laps to go. The fight continues. Mears chasing Fittipaldi.
Oh, he did catch him again. 2 more car lengths. That's the way he's going to do it.
So Rick Mears knows how and where it can be done. All that must be done is get past Fittipaldi. 2 laps to go.
Oh, he's right behind him at turn 2. He takes the high line.
Mears tries the high, tries to keep the momentum going. He's tucked under the wing of Fittipaldi.
Look at
Fittipaldi right there.
He moves down to protect the inside line, but Mears is all over him like a hot rash.
Fittipaldi with the white flag out. 1 lap to go for both. Tries to hold off Mears. The move will come in turn 2. They come off that corner. They hit for the backstretch. Mears comes plenty wide off the corner, trying to keep the momentum moving, but it stretches out a bit as Fittipaldi pulls away. Now coming toward the checkered flag, it's Fittipaldi in front. Mears still trying to catch him, still moves high. He doesn't give up to the finish, but it's over. Fittipaldi has won by 34 hundredths of a second over Rick Mears. Fittipaldi finally scores a victory in 1990 at the very track that gave him his championship.
Talk about having to earn your victory the hard way in the last 10 or 12 laps. Emerson had to do everything possible that he knew to try and keep Rick at bay.
And with that finish, Al Unser Jr. is the 1990 kart champion. His first championship and the first championship for the second generation. Fittipaldi wins the race. Al Unser Jr. wins the war. We'll be back. We're back at Nazareth, where Emerson Fittipaldi has scored the victory. This Winner's Circle interview is brought to you by Road Handler Treadlock Radials at Sears. Tough tires you can trust. Now, here's Gary Gerald.
And what an emotional scene. You talk about the love of this family. All the Fittipaldis are here. Emerson, we don't have much time, but I know how badly you wanted to get one before the season ended. A terrific race, and your teammate pushed you all the way.
Well, Gary, it was a tough race, and has been exactly a year ago the last time I won. And, you know, it's great to win for Marlboro Penske team. I'm very pleased. And, you know, we changed around. Yesterday, Rick was first, and I was second. Today, I'm first, and he's second.
And that early morning test session at the truck plant, it helped you out, didn't it?
Oh, yes, for sure. The car was beautiful. Everything went the road went fine. I'm very happy.
Terrific. Congratulations. We've got a championship being celebrated also in the Gallus-Craco crew. Let's go to Lynn St. James.
Yes, it is truly a team, and it's a team that's won a championship. Rick, you've won the Can-Am Championship. You've won the Super V Champion, both with Al. Now you've got an expanded team. You were right here watching with Bobby right up to the very end, knowing that Al's okay, but you've won the kart championship.
Well, we're real happy. You know, right now I'm more concerned about Al, to be honest with you, but they tell me he's okay, so now we're going to enjoy it. And I just want to thank my partner, Maury Cranes, because a lot of people said that we couldn't do this working together, and I couldn't have a better partner. And we're just thrilled to death for our team, and we're thrilled to death for Albuquerque and the state of New Mexico. And I'm starting to feel pretty good about this. Maury and I have been walking. Neither one of us been sleeping all week, so we just are going to celebrate a little bit and take care of that driver of ours and go to Lacuna and maybe win another race.
And I see that there's going to be bigger and better things coming from this team as well. I mean, it's really growing and expanding.
Well, it is. I mean, Maury and I are both committed, and I'd like him to say a little something because he's got a lot to do with this deal.
Rick Reed said everything, but, you know, it's kind of thrilling. It's kind of sad, though, that we had to do it this way with little Al in the hospital right now, but I think he's going to be okay.
Well, that's one of the things about this sport is that we really can't design the way it's all going to happen, but yet we take what we can get from it, but we give as well. Thank you very much, and up to Paul. Thank you.
So the Gallus-Craco combination worked and brought Al Unser Jr. a championship. They'll take a close look at him at the hospital as we take a look at the final results here, unofficial for yet another half hour. On Michael Greenfield, they now have him listed in fair condition with a shoulder injury, and he'll stay at the hospital for x-rays as we look at the points. But all that matters is at the top of the order. Al Unser Jr., a second-generation champion, joins that long string of Unser championships. Paul Page for Derek Daly, Lynn St. James, and Gary Gerald. So long from Nazareth.